Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We've finished up the 50 Buick. Just do our wrap-up video here. We'll also at the end of this tie in the front shocks. So what we've got is, we got our Slam RE6 bags in the front, RE7 bags in the back. We used the stock suspension, removed the spring, and built an upper and lower bag cup. The front we used stock suspension, opened up around the coil spring, did a bottom plate for the bag mount and an upper cup. The wiring for the air ride, we've got it running across the chassis up into the fuse holders there, and then the ground goes to the battery. So it's sitting nice and level. In the back we've got our Airlift 3P system is in behind the tank. We've got two Viair 485s on the sides there, and we've got our black tank wrapped in tweed. Fuel tanks in here too. We also did our bag mount up through there and a shock mount up through there. So that's the original location for the shock mount, but we dimple dyed around the existing hole. And then the bag mount, we did enough of a dimple dye that we could get the bag mount plus the fitting. We've also got our tank drain runs off the bottom and comes to this ball valve here, and then that'll drain through the floor. So you don't have to mess around inside the car. For the management system, we've got it in the console here. So in the front drawer, did a tweed wrapped holder for it. So it's sitting in there nice and tight. I've still got the protective film on it, but all closed up, you can't see it. The car was already converted to 12 volt. Oh, and we also fixed the body mount. So there was a body mount that was a little tough, so we fixed that. But super stoked at how it turned out. It looks really good. Can't wait to see it out driving. But we'll do show you it all the way up and all the way down and cycling. So that's all the way up. So we got tons of space to get in anywhere. Under the car. See our plate top and bottom on the control arm. Our bags mounted in there. Same on the other side. We used the bag mount for the upper bag mount to hold the shock as well. In the back, we've got our bags there, shocks there. But she gets some really good lift. Looks good. Onto rear shocks. So I've cut little retainers, the bottom plates for the control arms. I'm just about to jack up the driver's side, take this wheel off. We got our shocks. We're going with Monroe. What are these things? .32207s. So we'll do an upper mount as well. We'll figure out what all that looks like. But these had the top and bottom loop that I wanted, and they also had the stroke that I wanted. So the bolts that we're going to do, so we're going to mount those to those bottom plates we just cut out. Our tops are going to use the smaller ones and go through. Be a two-sided, the bottom will be a single side. So I'm going to get this side off. We'll get the bottom plate bolted in, cycle it through, figure out where the top mount needs to be, and then we can do both bottom plates on the bench, bolt them in, be done, and then we'll laser cut out or plasma cut out the upper mounts and get those welded to the frame. So I'll get ready and show you guys what we're doing. Okay, so we got our lower plate bolted in, and so down here, and I checked stroke up through here, and I'm gonna end up mounting it right out at the edge here. If I mount it in any further, when the shock travels, it's gonna travel through this piece of frame. So we're gonna go right out at the end. We're gonna have to do some mount up around this area up here. So I'll have to come off the frame, come up and connect up here. So on our bench, so essentially what that's going to look like is bottom plate, bolt mounted there. I did cut some other pieces thinking that that it would be in further. So I'm just going to nip them so they go around the bolt like that. So I'm just going to nip the front edge off of them and still use them just to get some depth back into it. It's not needed, but we cut them out and it's a little bit more welding that we can use, so we're going to do that. So what I'm going to do now, hook up the welder, get these burned in, I'll get them painted, make sure that I'm allowing for space, because when our shock is on here, if we just butt it right into the plate, this body here is going to hit. So we got to make sure that there's enough sticking out that we put a spacer on it to allow it to do its articulation through its range. So that's what we're doing. We've allowed for some space there. We got more than enough distance, more than enough engagement into the plate. Not concerned at all about it. And it's out further, which is also going to add to a smoother ride. We're going to have more absorption. The closer you mount it in towards the pivot point on the actual cross member, the less you're actually doing, because that movement is only maybe, you know, an inch at the closest. Out at the furthest point, we're going to probably have like 6 inches, and then out at the wheel you've got 7-8 inches. So the more stroke you can have, the more the shock can do its job, and that valve body can allow the fluid transfer within the shock. So by mounting it right out at the end, we're going to have the best possible ride we can out of this shock. It's even further out than it was with a factory placement. And then with the range and adjustability of the airbag, being able to change your pressures. Obviously, if you're going to run 100 and whatever, 40 psi, whatever this tank ranges up to, this car is maxed out control arms on cross member, so you're gonna have a horrible ride. But if you're in around the 80 range, 80-90 range, you're gonna have a nice ride. As you go down, you'll be lower, but you're gonna, if a bump comes, you might bottom out. So, and then your back, you're probably gonna cruise around 20-30 psi in the back, and that's gonna be a good ride in these cars. So shock, having as much travel as I can give it, is going to be the best result, and further out on the control arm is going to allow that fluid transfer within the shock and provide us the best ride possible. So I'm going to get burning the shock in. I'll get these plates painted up, then I can install them for good and not weld on the car right now. Then I'm going to drain. Right now I've got the air in the front bags so that the bag droop has a full bag. It's not trying to pull weird. And then we're going to disconnect the battery because we're welding, so always disconnect your battery when you're welding, and we'll figure out what these top mounts look like, draw them up, template them up, and get them cut and then get them burned into the frame. So I'm gonna start welding, making sure I'm doing a left hand and a right hand part. Don't just make them both the same. So we'll come back when we're ready to start talking about upper mounts. Driver's side done. So we got our lower mount off of our plate. Our upper mount comes off our frame. We relocated our brake line. 5/8 hardware. Turned out that we could use the same bracket for the front and the back of the shock mount. I thought the shape was going to be different by the shape of the frame, and I'll show you what I'm talking about on the passenger side here. See the frame changes contour here, but it seems like we hit a spot where the contour is really similar, so I was able to use that on both locations. So I cut 2 more, get the passenger side burned in. Driver's side's done now. Passenger side, make a mount for the controller inside the car. He's got a center console and a shelf out the front, so we're going to use our drawer. We're going to use that drawer to mount the controller in. But we're almost done all the fab work. We got maybe another hour left, and it's 9 o'clock right now. So we'll probably burn in that top piece and the bracket, and then we'll probably assemble tomorrow. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching this. This is the last one for this 1950 Buick. Next one we're doing is a 1962 Olds. We're going to bag that one. It's going on wires, so that's going to be another cool build. Looking forward to that. And thanks again for watching. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, comment down below. Appreciate the time you've taken to watch the video. I'll see you later.